All right. Anybody know who that was? Yeah, Boston. I actually didn't know who Boston was, so I'm going to level with you guys about that. I kind of feel like all the, in my mind, all of the bands that are named after places run together. Like somehow Boston, Chicago, Kansas, whomever, like they all kind of, it's like one thing in my head, and it's all things I don't listen to. So. But I'm glad that some of you like Boston this morning. So that was the song Don't Look Back, which is actually one of Boston's biggest hits. It did reach number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 several years before I was born. But arguably, that was 1978. I wasn't born until 85, so there you go on that one. One of the reasons I'm assuming, though, that it was the hit that it was is just kind of the content of the song, right? That theme of having this hopeful future that's kind of better than where you've been, getting on the road and moving towards what's hopefully a better day, and even just that idea of a new day starting, right? A new day is breaking. And hopefully some of us, at least to some degree, are feeling some of that enthusiasm. It seems like when the new year hits, you have some extra energy and excitement and vision for kind of what's next. And so maybe the song kind of resonates with that for you. But the lyrics say, don't look back. Ooh, a new day is breaking. Ooh, you can all say that with me. Ooh. There's good oohs and bad oohs. I'm assuming this is a good ooh. It's been too long since I felt this way. I don't mind ooh where I get taken. The road is calling. Today is the day. Okay. So anyway, it's strikingly similar, though, to the words of the Apostle Paul in the book of Philippians when he writes, this is in Philippians 3, I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of his resurrection, participation, ooh, yes, ooh, the power. I think we get a good ooh and a bad ooh on this one. The power of resurrection, ooh, participation in his sufferings, ooh. Becoming like him in his death, there's the bad ooh. And so somehow attaining to the resurrection from the dead. Not that I've already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Right? It's one of those passages you just read it and you feel it. Forgetting what is behind and moving on towards what is ahead, right? Don't look back. The road's calling. Today is today. Today is the day, right? And today is the day, right? Now is the time. We have an enemy, and certainly Satan likes to deal with the future, right? And probably even more so in our past. But it's right now, right here in the present, that we really experience the power of God. And it's the present that is invaded by that eternal future. And right here, right now, with God, that's what we're talking about today. C.S. Lewis said, the present is the point at which time touches eternity, right? And so that eternity that Paul is striving for, it's available right here and now. It's touching us right here in this present moment. We have to get past the past if we're ever going to move forward, and that starts right now, right here. Now is the time. And so hopefully that's a powerful message for each of us as we move into this new year. And I think the Lord's encouragement to each of us would be this. Let's press into the new year looking forward, not looking back. As with most things, that's easier said than done, right? So I work as a therapist in a prison, and I think one of the things that is most difficult about prison, of which there are many, but there's this idea that for most folks that end up in prison, you've been running from something for a long time, and prison is the time where you can't escape that anymore. Everything's caught up with you. You're sitting in a cell with your thoughts, and you can't get away from them, right? And all that stuff, the past regrets, all of the things that we've done that we want to escape, they all catch up with us there in that moment. And even if not everybody in this room obviously has been to prison, we've all had that moment, right? That thing where you are alone in a dark room with your thoughts and with the memories of the things that you've done wrong, the things that other people have done you wrong, and just the way that maybe your life hasn't turned out the way that you thought, that life wasn't quite what you bargained for. But we've got to find some way to get past those things, right? To not stay there, trapped in our past, but to continue moving forward. And so instead of giving you sort of 10 easy steps to moving forward in your life, I want us to talk about the Apostle Paul. So we're starting with this passage from Philippians written by Paul. Let's look at Paul's story real quick. And we read about his conversion in Acts chapter 9. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing. This is later he would become Paul, right? So he started out as Saul. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest, asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, meaning Christianity, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him, and he fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you?" Saul asked. "I'm Jesus, whom you're persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." And the men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but they did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he'd opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind, and he did not eat or drink anything. And in Damascus, there was a disciple named Ananias. The Lord called to him in a vision, "Ananias." "Yes, Lord," he answered. The Lord told him, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. And in a vision he's seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him to restore his sight." Because again, at this point Saul's blind. "Lord," Ananias answered, "I've heard many reports about this man and all the harm he has done to your holy people in Jerusalem. And he has come here with the authority from the chief priest to arrest all who call on your name." But the Lord said to Ananias, "Go, this man is my chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles and their kings and to the people of Israel. I will show him how much he must suffer for my name." And then Ananias went to the house and entered it. Placing his hands on Saul, he said, "Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road as you were coming here, has sent me so that you may see again and be filled with the Holy Spirit." And immediately something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. And he got up and was baptized. And after taking some food, he regained his strength. So we see several things in this journey of Saul, right? So first of all, we see that he absolutely was not headed in the same direction of God, right? In fact, his life was absolutely opposed to everything that God was doing in the world at that time, right? Persecuting anyone who called themselves a Christian. And we see right there in that moment, got knocked on his butt, right, and stricken blind. And I think there's anybody that had a tendency to probably really have life together and have it all figured out and have a plan where he was headed on, I think it was Saul. I think that's part of why, if you look at the books that he left us, you look at Romans and, you see a mind that is just very smart, right, and has all the answers kind of a thing seemingly. And a lot of times we're like that. I unfortunately tend to try to be a little bit of a know-it-all at times. It's very irritating to everybody who knows me, right? And that's actually, and to a certain extent, that's it's both my gift and my curse, right? And the curse of the people around me. But when you're so sure that you're right, you tend to do a lot of damage along the way. And certainly that's some of the damage that I've done. And certainly that's what we see with the Apostle Paul. He's so sure that he's right that he can kill people in the name of what's right. And in that moment, when he has the encounter with God, he loses all of that. His whole map, right? I think he had everything charted out. This is the way my life is going to go, and this is the way that you please God. This is how you're supposed to live. All of that gets wiped out in a moment, right? Completely disoriented and unable to even find his way, right? He can't even see the road he was on anymore, right? And sometimes this, in fact, most often I would say this is the way in which God encounters our life. That whatever you thought that path was that was mapped out, it's just gone. And everything you thought you knew about reality gets flipped upside down. And Paul has, at this moment, this past, right, that he has to try to get past, both in the sense of what he's done wrong, as well as what he thinks is right. You know, I mean, it's a completely blank slate for him. He can't find his way in a room, you know. And we have Ananias coming, who also has to get past Saul's past, right? And so it's not just us forgetting our own past, right, as we're trying to move forward. But let's talk about in terms of relationships. We talked a lot about betrayal a few weeks ago. That's one of the things that we have to get past, is not only get past our past, but get past the people that we're trying to do life with, right? Not holding those things against them if we're going to move forward in a relationship. We have to let go of all of that, all the things you think you know about life, about God, about yourself, and about anything else. And we come to this place of utter humility where we need to be led around by the hand. This is the place at which we experience our direction, right? At the place where we have no answers and we are open to God coming and sending somebody, right, to place their hands on us, receive the Spirit, receive this new sight. And completely flips our life upside down. You know, at the end of the book of Job, you know, God shows up as a tornado, and it seems like that's what it's like sometimes when God enters into our life. It's more like a tornado than it is talks about the Holy Spirit being like the wind. You know, we like to think of like a gentle breeze, but I think a lot of times it's like a tornado, and it just wrecks everything. The author Jonathan Martin, who's a man who kind of had his own fall from grace. He was a pastor of a big church, ended up losing everything. Anyway, he wrote a book called How to Survive a Shipwreck, and this is what he writes. He says, if you wish to become someone and something else entirely, then the you that was before the storm came, you will have to peer into the sea that threatens to swallow you whole and dive into the mouth of it and trust. You will have to let God happen to you, which requires letting life happen to you all the way down. You cannot continue to flail your arms, beat against the sea, and damn the waves. You have to let yourself go all the way under, into the depths of God, into the depths of your own soul, and into the depths of life itself. And certainly this morning we sang, God, let your waves and your breakers roll over me. This is that image. Letting the storm and the night have their way, that darkness, that blindness, right, as Paul was struggling there, unable to see anything. Letting the night have their way with you. Letting the Spirit come in and the wind to make you into something new is much easier said than done, and there are so many reasons not to be reborn. There are so many reasons to choose resuscitation over resurrection, right? Just bringing my old life back to life instead of moving into a new life. There's nothing quite so scary as the Holy Ghost, because we intuitively know that to make room for this Spirit is to make room for our own upending. Rather than give ourselves over to the whims of that ghost, it seems at first easier to choose to live as ghosts ourselves. Just sort of resigned to a life of just getting by and trying to figure things out on our own. And so we do see that often the main thing standing between us and that new life in Christ is the life we're living right now. Yeah, is us, right? The mind that we have now, the sight that we have right now. And yet, if we, again, dive headfirst into these waves, we can emerge as a new creation with a new hope. And we can even come out stronger. Ernest Hemingway wrote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward many are strong at the broken places," right? And that's not all, right? Because I think you kind of have to participate in the breaking. You kind of have to let the breaking have its way in you. But we have that image in the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, right, of Jacob wrestling with God, and he comes out with the broken hip, right? And he's somehow stronger for that break, knowing things he didn't know before. And so to press forward into the new year, we need a vision and a call worth dying for. And that's what Paul says at the beginning. In the verse that we started with, he said, I want to know that future resurrection, and in the meantime, I want to share in the sufferings of Christ. And he knew that somehow both of those things, they could not be separated, right? That there are things within each of us that absolutely have to die. And so, first of all, obviously, we mean something that would be worth dying for and giving your life for, but it also means worth going through the process of being pushed under the waves, right? In letting those old parts of ourselves die, letting our past be past, forgetting what is behind and striving on towards what is ahead. And that's the exact vision that we're given from Jesus, is something not only worth dying for, but that actually requires us dying to ourselves, right? Jesus said to his disciples in Matthew 16, he said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me, for whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. And so that future that we're striving towards, that goal that's out on the horizon, that star that's out there that we're heading towards, like the Magi that we just spoke about at Christmas. You have to go through some death. You have to go through the night to get to that daylight, right? And it's worth it. To tell you more about this, I'm going to welcome to the stage our senior pastor, Raymond McDonald.
Thank you very much, Joel. Well, some of the things that Joel's talking about are all the nice words of a young man. The older we get, certainly we start thinking a little bit different, though we still have those dreams and visions that we want to die for. But if I could clarify it, maybe for some of us over 55, getting out of bed for. I mean, with because what he's saying is true, but let's just put it in something to keep going for. And for me, you know, it was going to be, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be bigger than Elvis, and I'm working on it. But I'm gonna plant a church. I'm gonna do this. But as I get older, I realize that some of those goals, some of those things, are that certainly, but they're also being a good father, being around to be a grandfather, serving others, and just being there when I myself feel like I'm doing nothing and feel like I'm losing, where others are looking at me, still coming and feeding from the trough that is the one that Christ has given me to feed the world through. And I say that because sometimes we give up and say, look, I'm not changing the world today. Well, but you are. You're speaking into, as my grandmother prayed for my salvation. It was my grandmother who constantly talked to me about Jesus. She never lived to see the things that would happen in my life. She just saw a kid who was always in trouble. And it was upon her death that my life changed. And, not that my parents didn't do a lot of work there too, but I'm just saying that a lot continues to go into this call of what we got in life. And as we look at the new year, realizing that what's going to get me out of bed in the new year? What's going to get me going? I got a job. I'm paying for my house. I'm getting these things done. I'm doing that. And we put our little life together. But something seems to be missing. There's a part of me that seems to die at times, a part of me that's been left behind as I continue to do that. Well, let's talk about what it means to get a vision, what it means to get on or go forward in life. I won't tell you how to, I could tell you what I would do for a vision. I would get with a bunch of people and get in a room with a bunch of sticky notes and just do all my best to come up with all these great ideas. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be trying to get a vision statement for me, but maybe that's for you. For me, it's catching a glimpse of what it means that you have a purpose. Get up, get going today. That's there. And one of the verses that has always touched my life is one that I want to read now, and it's from Isaiah 57:14. And it says this here, it will be said, build up, prepare the road. Remove the obstacles out of the way of my people. For this is what the high and exalted one says. He who lives forever, whose name is holy, he says, I live in a high and holy place, but also with the one who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. Man, these are big words. Now, understand, we're speaking to those who've been removed from their family home and taken 1,000 miles away in Babylon, Persia, whatever it may be. This is speaking to those who are going to return back to the promised land, who've been taken out of the promised land. And they had been taken into captivity. And the Lord said, bring them home, build up the road, clear out the obstacles, let them come back. And I want you to understand, yes, I am this great God. But here it is today. I'm with the lowly and the contrite and the broken heart and those who are nursing failure, as it might be said to some of us, to my own self. And so what does he say to do? Build up the road, but he also says, and remove the obstacles. We can continue to build up the road. We continue to put vision, put forth, get better, read books, do what we want to do. But if we don't remove the obstacles, we don't get down the road. And this year, as we look at these kind of things, what are some of those obstacles there? Well, I can talk about those things we need to certainly leave behind to become the new person we are. But let me just give you a fill in the blank so you can at least get that over with. There it is. You got that. We must clear away the obstacles and revive hope. And you could put on there, clear away the obstacles to revive hope. If you've ever been in debt and went down and took care of your financial stuff, you know how your hope, sometimes it's just someone come over here, let me help you write checks to get you through. If you've ever been depressed, I was a single guy, and I remember someone coming and just saying, now let me help you and walk through these things. I was just locked up. And it wasn't a big deal. Didn't know a lot of money around, just couldn't go any further, hit a wall. A friend helped me get down the road, but the obstacle had to be removed. I had to at least get going with those things. Sometimes those obstacles are a little bit different than theirs. Sometimes it's drugs. Sometimes it's alcohol. Sometimes it's anger, it's laziness, it's apathy, it's selfishness, unforgiveness, overspending. Have I hit everyone yet? I don't know. But we all have an obstacle that seems to keep getting in the way of us moving forward to become the person that we feel God's calling us to be at this point of our life. At this point of our life. I can sit back and say all day, I want to be a preacher, but I can be 15 years old and I'm not going to plant a church today. Or I can be 65 and say, maybe that's not what I'm being called to do. Maybe it's to help someone else. Either way, the obstacles that get in the way can be, many. And we got to deal with these things. John Wimber, who was the father of the Vineyard, would always say this here. He told us to always esteem character over gifting. Before you get what you want, have the character that when you walk into success, that you don't explode. That when people begin to rely on you, that when you begin to walk in that purpose and that call, that you don't be seen as this person who really has no character. When your stage is small and you fail, it's not a big deal. But the bigger the stage, the harder the fall. Don't try to shove me off, okay? But you get the point. I want to deal with issues, that's for sure. And it's okay to deal with them now. It's okay to confess and get things out of the way. And I think every one of us realizes here that no one really wants to be addicted to things that are destroying our life. But then there's those things that are good in our life, or we esteem as good, that maybe these are the obstacles that are the call in our life. They're blocking the call or the next place in our life. Does that make sense what I'm saying right now? Those are the harder ones because it takes a little bit of discernment to deal with that one there. Because for me, I'll never forget that being called to the ministry, I knew the more I got into music and the more I wanted fame and the more of these things, the less chance I was going to ever plant a church. And at one point, I had to give up what had been the greatest dream of my life up until that point, and certainly this whole hope of being famous and all these other things, and began to lay some things down so I might move into what I was called to. John Wimber, again, as I reference back to him, he was a great musician too. He was a producer of the Righteous Brothers, who were one of the biggest bands at the time. They opened up for the Beatles, and as you know, some of their big hits there, that's some of you older folks would like a Righteous Brothers song played there. But the point was, he was asked to come back and produce one of their last albums, and he said no. He'd given up everything to go and pursue what God had called him in, and that meant moving to Yorba Linda and taking a job cleaning out oil barrels. And I think it was Bill Medley he pulled up looking for John Wimber, And John climbed out of an oil barrel covered in oil, and Bill said, hey, do you know what John Wimber is? He goes, Bill, I am John Wimber, okay? What are you doing in that oil barrel? What happened to you? How did your life come to this? I'll never forget coming, and after quit touring, I started rebuilding cars and working at my uncle's shop, and just the mosquitoes biting me under the car, and just my hands were banged up. I couldn't even hold a guitar. And I remember saying to God, what, did you bring me here to kill me? And his words to me, yes, I did. I brought you here to kill you, to give you a life, one that you don't have. That's a different idea, because sometimes this whole idea of good life, the comfort of our life, the things we have in life, the things we build our life with, stand in the way of us becoming the people maybe he's called us to be. Now, I'm not asking you to go down and sell your house and get rid of your car and all these other things of that nature. I'll let God deal with you on those things. But again, Jonathan Martin in his book, How to Survive a Shipwreck, and again, Joel's already referenced his book, says this here, we build our ship and fear the waters of chaos. This is my writing, actually. We build our ship and fear the waters of chaos that always flow underneath our feet. And the waters that drown you are the same waters that will save you, he writes. The waters that drown you are the same waters that save you. And the same sea that's pulling you under is the sea that will make you new. The things you've been holding on to cannot keep you afloat any longer. And sometimes losing our station, losing our place is our biggest fear. And it may be the very thing that God's taking away from us to become that person that he's called us to be. Jonah has to go to the bottom of the sea before Jonah becomes the man God's called him to be. And I'm not speaking failure over anyone. I'm not saying those things. But sometimes when we're hitting that place where we start the new year and it seems dark and it seems desolate and it seems like it's going down, it's not. It's what God's doing to morph us into what he's called us to be. And there's nothing wrong with success. There's certainly nothing wrong with having and knowing those things. But sometimes when we're in that place where we've lost hope for our life, we have to go through that dark night of the soul in order to find who we are. I think everyone's probably been through it. A change that's there, not being afraid to change. You got to return again to the chaos of the world that you knew when we were young, this whole sense of, we're going because it was chaos and everything was a blessing. I'll never forget the Gwynns always having patio furniture I went over their house first time and they were eating off plastic furniture. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And they were like, what's wrong with this? It's just nice. It's just plastic furniture. But for me, I had arrived. We had wooden furniture. We get so wrapped up in the things that we lose this call that's there. And we lose what's going on in our life. And we're called into this drowning experience. We're called into the shipwreck. And by shipwreck, I'm not saying that your marriage fails as this man's marriage failed. I don't know his entire story. I hate it whenever I hear those things that's there. But he stepped away from his church, and he went on and began to live his life. And he had to find who he was. If he wasn't a pastor, who was he anymore? And in that search, he finds out who he really was. It happens. And the shipwreck feels like death in our life because it really feels like you're dying. But there's often in this dying that this is where we're being found and remade to be new. This year, as you move forward and put a vision, hope up there, understand that you will see darkness that's there. Remember, you're sharing in the sufferings as well as sharing in the resurrection life that's there. Henry Cloud, who wrote a book called Necessary Endings, we referenced him before, writes, getting to the next level always requires ending something, leaving it behind and moving on. Growth itself demands that we move on. Without the ability to end things, people stay stuck, never becoming who they are meant to be, never accomplishing all that their talents and abilities should afford them. I'll never forget working for an insurance company, and it was a Fortune 500 insurance company, and I knew I had to quit if I was going to move into music and do what I had to do. And I just, a lot of people just leaned on me. How many people would be hurt if I left this company? How would the people look at, if Raymond wasn't in this company? And I'll never forget this attorney pulled me aside and said, let me tell you something, son. You'll be gone a week and they'll forget who you are. It's just a big company. Go do your life. You're 26 years old. Get up and go do your life. And I went on from there and became a musician and did my life for a while. for me to stop, again, music and move forward into this whole place of ministry was putting things aside. When I was feeling the call to run for city council, in our movement, Vineyard movement, I was heading up church planning for our region, and a lot of people looked to me and called me all the time to help them with things, and I knew there was no way I could do that and do this. No way. And I'll never forget going to the head of that department and saying, I'm stepping away from being the regional leader in this area. It hurt. Everything inside of me died. I'd worked so hard to get to that, and I'm walking away from everything. I've not looked back. I do not miss those horrible meetings I had to go to and all the statistics I had to read. And everyone was young, and they were millennials, those people who can't grow hair on the side of their head. In my age, we're having problems on top, it just. But I handed it to someone who had desire, and he's moved forward and found great success there. Meaning that God is blessing, even as He's moving us, He's blessing other people that's there. I'll never forget, as I began to walk towards Christ, I was dating a girl for 6 years, and the Lord just said, it's time for you to break up. This is the next move. And He spoke to her too, so that we both knew what He was doing in our lives. God was orchestrating. I was listening. I'll never forget the day she and I broke up. We went down and just knelt in this little church and gave our relationship back to the Lord, and we said bye to each other. I called her 2 days later and said, that was the devil. I'm very lonely. She said, no, it was God. And making hard decisions is what we see is going on in the next level. Proverbs 3:5-6 says this here, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He'll make your path straight. And submitting to Him in every area of our life and saying, this is my life, take it. I preached this sermon once. It was called the whole enchilada. Walter still remembers that one there. I want the whole enchilada. Put everything in it. Lord, I always would pray, Lord, don't give me an easy life. I want it all. I want the life you want for me. Don't let me cry for another popsicle and you give it to me, Mom. Don't do that to me. I don't want the things that aren't right for me. Give me only what I need, and let me be ready to follow you in the fullness of life. I'm not saying I've always been successful at that. I'm sure I haven't. But that being said, this here, as Paul would say, I have not obtained these things. But I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward. And the way I'm moving forward is I'm going to move the obstacles out of the way. What is keeping me from moving forward in my life? And they may be small things. It may be, maybe this year is your thing. I really want to know the Lord more. I really want to know more of His Word. I want to read the Bible more. What's keeping me from it? Well, I watch 6 hours of TV a day. You might have to watch 5.5. It's not always that big a deal. You get where I'm at. For some of us, it means ready to go. For Walter and Susan, they lived in the Woodlands. They had a nice townhome. Oh, that you had that townhome now. You would be rich and wealthy. I'm so sorry. But they said, we want to plant a church with you. I said, well, I'm asking you to leave your townhome in the Woodlands and move to this little downtown area in Conroe. It's going to be a very wonderful place to live. It's going to be the next heights. We're going to block the train. You won't hear the train anymore. It's going to be beautiful. Well, we still hear the train. And their house has increased, but it's not been like the Woodlands. But I'll tell you what, it's still going that way. The city has meetings with Union Pacific all the time to do things with that train. As a city councilman, I am so involved now. I never thought I'd get a chance to actually to push those agendas that were here 15 years, 18 years ago that we had. All saying this here is that they gave up everything. And look how much they've been paid out. Look at all the great things that happened to Walter and Susan. Well, really nothing, if you don't count the fact that they are esteemed and loved and that you look up to them. They still drive a Toyota car, unfortunately. It's the same, not the same model. They have the larger model now, but it's not the same car. But really, the payout for their life has been serving in full to a community that's there. And others are the same. You gave up everything. So I said, make a plan. And we see this in James. You say, how do I make a plan? What does it mean to make a plan? Well, let's start with wisdom. I need wisdom. And what does James say to us? Ashley's going to show us what James says to us. Thank you, Ashley. That's magic, isn't it? You're so good with that. That's good. James, let it happen. If any of you lack wisdom, and by the way, that's a couple of us, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. Now, John, you know the finding fault one. You remember when you would ask your dad a question, and he would say, well, you idiot, I've already told you that. You screwed up. You didn't do what I told you. Well, that's not what God does. He doesn't find fault. He doesn't do that to us. Now, I'll do it to my kids. Well, I told you not to do that. And he'll give it. It'll be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is a double-minded and unstable in all they do. This is a hard passage to look at. I'm not going to go into the Greek and all those other things, as though I could. But all this to say, when we get wisdom and when we begin to make a plan in the decision, and the indecision of our life continues to vacillate and keep us going from moving forward, it will kill you. I bought this house next door to us back in 2002. I hated that house and doubted I should have bought that house. I know God didn't want me to buy that house. Every time a water leak would come or something happen, I knew I shouldn't have bought it, God. It was killing me. I missed my little yellow house down by the tracks. One day I felt the Lord say to me, Raymond, I wanted you to have the house. And if you'd have prayed to me and listened, you would have heard that. But you've got the house now, so just get on with it and love it and get on. It's done. A decision's made. Love it, work with it. Yes, it moves, it waves at you when it go by, but it's my house. And it's a house I live in. And it's probably the house I'll live in till the day I die, because I don't find a house that can fit as many people and animals that I like to run through my home. Decisions have been made in life. We go on with them. Sometimes it's better just to make some decision and go on with it and correct it as you go. Indecision will knock you out. I'm not telling you to just marry someone at the last minute. Anything works. But I'll be honest with you. Should I move to Dallas or should I move to Fort Worth? Well, they're both in hell. Which one does it matter? I'm kidding. That's our Houston joke. The point is God going to, well, I told you to move to Fort Worth. You move to Dallas, you get everything you aimed for, you know. No. God's going to bless you where you're at, even in Dallas. And for those of you who know, I said, God, I'll follow you anywhere, just not Dallas. I live on Dallas Street. We're in the church on Dallas Street. And every day I get to say Dallas. So all that being said, though, is we get so lost that God, I'm going to miss God. I want to tell you something. Last night, I went out by the barbecue pit, and I was out there doing ribs. And my son looked up and said, Marcus said, Dad, there aren't any stars. I said, no, there's stars. They're just behind the clouds. And God's there. Sometimes he's just behind the clouds. But he ain't went anywhere. He's like the stars in the firmament. Like the moon's behind the clouds. There's no moon tonight. Well, you go look at the ocean. You'll see that there's a moon, because the tide's still going to roll. And that does not, I'm not speaking to Alabama. Let's get that clear. Pressing forward the new year, we must make a decision and a plan. Indecision will get you. If you can't pull the trigger, you can't ever launch. John Wimber, again, he was here visiting Houston. He went over to NASA, and they showed him a missile. And he used to tell me all this. He'd always say this back in Anaheim, and I loved to hear his story because he was talking about my hometown. But he said there was a missile silo that was out there, and he said it went up, and they said, here is the direction piece on it. This is what guides and direct the guidance system for the missile. And then went inside, he said there was another missile that was on the ground. He said, well, where's the guidance system? And the guy said, well, why would we put a guidance system on something that's never going to launch? Some of you are waiting for guidance from the Lord. But there's got to be some kind of launch. I'm not telling you got to full-blown go throw $1 million into something, but move towards something. One of the greatest things when I was engaged to Teresa was I started looking for a place to live. We started talking about what it meant. There was something in me, let's see what this looks like, even making decisions together. Do something to begin to feel what it may look like to do that. For us planning a church, for years we pulled out map from underneath a bed and looked where that would be and prayed about it, waiting for an answer. Continue to pray, never forgetting that's what we were going to do. Knew it was going to happen. Knew it was going to happen. And when we heard it was Conroe, we said, let's go to Conroe. And everyone was so excited. We're going to the lake. We didn't go to the lake. Sorry. We went downtown, uptown. Can you pull the trigger? Failure's okay. Failure's okay. And I'm not talking about just getting married and jumping in. I'm not talking about throwing your money into some great, very risky venture. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about the in life. For me, when I went, I was supposed to go to Bible school, and I broke up with my girlfriend at that time. Yes, another girlfriend. What can I say? I always had a lot of girlfriends. But no. But in high school, I dated a girl, and I thought we would get married. And I said, Lord, if she's the wrong one for me, take her away from me. I will follow you wherever you take me. 2 weeks later, she broke it off with me. So I was so angry at God, I said, I'm not going to Bible school. So I went to Texas Tech University at the last minute because I had a really high SAT. So they said, hey, you can come in here. What do you want to do? I said, what's got the least amount of English? I'm not very good at English. I ain't very good at English. They said, well, here's engineering. I said, what are they? Civil, I like that one. I'll take that one right there. I'll take civil engineering. That's the way I made the decision of my life. 4 years of study of civil engineering. Transferred to A&M and really pursued it. That doesn't, whoop, that's right. We'll see some whoop here soon. But this week, but with that being said, God uses every day everything I learned about civil engineering. As a city councilman, one of the greatest assets I have is my knowledge of understanding concrete, how to bid jobs, I never thought I'd use any of that as a pastor. Of course, you buy an old building, you're always having to refurb your building. There's always stuff. God uses everything that you give him. Even the failed marriage. Everything, man. The kingdom makes one fundamental demand, George Eldon Ladd writes, the demand for decision. Right? That's what Jesus asked for. Make a decision. But it's our life. We have to make a decision to move forward. Life is made up of decisions, and it's the course of every man's life that's determined by those decisions. And we go through life wavering and unsure what we're going to do. We never have a distinct yes and never a distinct no. We're afraid we're going to miss out if we say no, and we're afraid to say yes and commit to anything. Well, just as it is with repentance and connecting with Jesus, it is with friends and everyone around us. With church, I'm not going to join a church. I might find one that's better. I'm sure you will. There's always a better church somewhere until you go there. Right? Then there'll be a better church somewhere else. We're a pretty good church. We're not the best church. There's a better one somewhere. But you'll be back if you're making the rounds, because we're on the round. That's the same, you know. But you make a decision in life. As they were walking along the road, a man said to him, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus replied, foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. And I love that because then they said, thank you so much for clearing that up. I love it when Jesus just states it like it is, puts it out there clean. Follow me. But he replied, Lord, let me go bury my father. Of course, the issue that we see here is that Jesus is challenging the seriousness of the man's direction. Let's do it, man. Come on. Let's do it. You know what your decision involves? You have an idea what it involves? Come on. Are you willing to become the disciple of the homeless? The one who has no prestige? Have you thought about this thought? It's not all roses. It just never is. It comes with a price. You want to adopt children? It's going to be beautiful. It'll never be bad. You want to have children? They'll love you forever. Never have problems with them. Everything comes with the hard sweat of life with it. It has a payout, but the payout comes through the sweat. You go to Robert and Kim's house, you'll go to beautiful rooms that are spacious and tiled and everything's laid out, big fire pit and everything, because that's the way they bought that house. No way. He lived in rubble, as in Barney, for a long time to get to that place. To finally sit down one day and pour a glass of wine and go, I rest. This is nice. It comes with a price. Buy a brand new house, it's all nice and good. But guess what? In 5 years, you'll be needing to fix it. That's the way that works. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. And knowing that His hand is on your life and that His plan for your life is better than your dreams for your life, understands that He is highly invested in your life. And moving forward with Him and saying, I don't know, I'm moving this way, Lord. I'm going here. Stop me. I'm not saying don't ask people. You should be speaking with people. You should challenge those decisions in life. Tina, did you like living in Park City? Did you like the mountains? Wasn't it beautiful? Tina and Bobby lived all in Park City, elk running everywhere. It was gorgeous. Bobby skied, mountain biked. Tina did too. Hey, guys, why don't you move to Conroe? It's beautiful here. They still don't hate me. I appreciate that. But the call sometimes is greater than the comfort. Continuing that Luke narrative, it says, still another said, I will follow you, Lord. But first, let me go back and say goodbye to my family. Jesus replied, no one puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the service of the kingdom of God. This seems a little ridiculous. I can't say bye to my family. But Jesus is putting a story out there in this sense that's this here is it's a resolute decision. And wanting to go back and wanting to change and wanting to quit is part of life and what we do. And there are times, as we said, with necessary endings. Sometimes it's time to stop a job or stop something. You may have a goal and you're never getting there. And you may say, well, maybe that wasn't what God had. But it doesn't mean that you're stopped moving forward and that you look at the past and the past owns you. It can't own you. It can't be your narrative. He's the great I am, not the great I was or the great I will be. And He meets you at the present time that's here. The press forward in the new year, we must start and restart as needed. Or I asked them to change it, get going and get up and do it again. That was my words on there, okay? Get going, get up and do it again. Because guess what? The enemy is going to try to stop you every time you get up and get going. There's on the slide, but don't need to show it. Every advance in the kingdom, whether in character or in the exercise of faith, will be met with counterattack, John Wimber says. It really will. If you don't think you're going to be challenged by moving forward, then you're not understanding the way the kingdom works. Everything. You can be the best football team in the NFL, but if you don't realize the next year you better trade some players and get some different folks in there. Don't you hate it when your favorite team trades off a great player? As our Astros come out again, I'm so upset. Why didn't you keep these guys? Because you've got to realize there's going to be things that continue to have to be tweaked and changed in life. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet and steadfast in all your ways, Proverbs tells us. But as I say this morning, this year, as we think about the resurrection life, we talked about it for a whole year in the book of Mark. Understand that it comes with, again, sharing in the sufferings of Jesus and the sufferings of life. Dennis, don't give up hope. You've had some setbacks this year in the things that you wanted. We want to see in your family. Just pray. Just continue to pray. Don't give up. Don't give up. You're not alone, and it feels like alone, but you're not alone. And the Lord's not done with you, sir. I know you wish she was still here, that Jody was here to walk, and that the kids were all around you. I'm just speaking to you and saying, don't give up. Move forward. Because there's many children who don't know fathers, grandfathers, don't have skills. The things that you have in life can be handed on and bless others. We keep moving forward. We keep answering the call every day. Heavenly Father, invite your presence to come today. Some of us have hit the shipwreck, and today we've understood maybe that shipwreck isn't the end, but maybe the beginning. Some of us are in a place where we're just locked tight and we're stuck. How do we come out of the stuck? Show us how, Lord. Move us forward. Let the joy well up in us again. But we also know this here, that we ain't always happy doing the things we're called to do. If happy means we're always laughing, because it's hard work. But Lord God, we want your hand to be with us, not our own selves. I invite you to stand with me now, and I ask the ministry team to come forward.